Hey there, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant. This is the magical swing of Carlos Correa, right? And Carlos Correa is a perfect example of, well, just about every facet of his swing is mechanically perfect. He is a dream for those of us that love to watch the high level mechanics and so forth. And a swing that we'll probably show a lot of kids. Hey, these are some of the things that we want to do, right? But I've taken it upon myself to cut out some of these images, right, and superimpose on this image over here on the right. I've put where Carlos Correa is over here now at the slot. Let me try to get him. There you go. And then I've pasted this image on top of his lower half when he gets to his landing. Now, why did I do that? Well, I receive a lot of mail that talks about, I shouldn't say a lot of mail. I don't have that many people watching, but I receive some mail that you don't know how the kinetic chain of events works. If you don't understand it, you shouldn't even try to talk about it. Well, I think that I talk about it different than a lot of people talk about it because I understand it a little bit different. Now, the physics properties of the kinetic chain we can't redefine, right? It's been defined. It's a scientific thing, right? But I think that mechanically, it's oftentimes misunderstood in the baseball swing, right? Because we're chasing the wrong thing. So on the right is where most youth players are going to land in their weight shift. Front shoulders up in their face, right? Their hands have dropped a little bit. This is actually a pretty good position. I would take this for a lot of kids, but normally kids would have their back elbow, right, would be leading the knob a little bit here in this position. The barrel would be laid off, so they're not going to hit this good of a position even, right? But nonetheless, they won't have torque and all these things, right? It's just a reality. This is kids. So if Carlos Correa landed in this position, right, he would probably have to go into the cage and do a lot of work where he's getting his back knee to start a little bit earlier, whatever you got to do to start your lower half, right? But Carlos Correa knows the secret to the kinetic chain. It's not pinning your knee underneath you. It's not dragging your back foot, right? It's making sure that you have the proper sequence. Now, I challenge you to find, and most of us are realistic, and they know this. You guys know this isn't a shot. Most of our kids don't hit this position. Front shoulder down when they land, when all the way into heel plant with that back elbow still behind the hands, right? Everything's back. This is perfection, right? But the reason why Carlos Correa is allowed to start his lower half before his upper half is because of that sequencing. Not because he did a drill on tucking his back knee underneath him, but because he keeps everything back all the way into his weight shift. This allows the properties of the kinetic chain to unfold. Right? Is that right? Property? It doesn't matter. But nonetheless, right, look how much work he has done to this position at this point where I took the image from, right? Where I cropped it out and put it over here on the right, right? This is where our kids are landing, right? So would you have to talk to this kid about firing their hips or getting their lower half to go? Absolutely, because it's going to be late, right? Because this player has dropped in with the wrong sequence. And this is why we spend so much time, and there's so many YouTube videos on how do I get my kids lower half to start? How do I do this? How do I do this? Well, I hope you understand today, folks, that those drills, I'm not saying that those drills, I use drills all the time to get that lower half mechanism to release the proper way and so forth. But I think that if people spent more time in dedicating their practice to following and finding this sequence, front shoulder on the pitch, hands still back, elbow behind the hands, right? I didn't say elbow up. I said elbow behind the hands, and you're going to start seeing that the player has more room for their lower half to release. This is the proper kinetic chain of events, not how much you twist your lower half. I don't care what anyone says. The reason why these guys do stuff that we don't see with our kids and we're constantly trying to teach it is because of this sequencing, right? So I challenge you to work with your players on this position, landing in this position, and it's going to be tough, brother. It's going to be really tough. But the more that they're able to hit this position when they land, okay, the more you're going to allow, and you're going to start seeing that those kinetic chain of events are going to unfold. Otherwise, they're going to be landing in positions like over here on the right, where everything's ready to turn now, right? It has to. I'm already in the slot, right? So my back foot's still in the ground, my knees, just all kinds of stuff, right? This player is going to struggle with their lower half being engaged. But if you get the proper timing, like we see over here with Carlos Correa, you're going to see the kinetic chain of events unfold. All right, guys, thanks.